Hi, my name is Carole Kavanagh.
Danielle.
Candy.
Pat.
Jade.
Kay Fisher.
Alexandra.
Lily.
Jess. Angelica. Galinda.
Hannah.
Laura.
Chelsea.
Jane.
Rebecca.
Anna. Jade. Abigail.
Jess.
Silvia. Jane.
Becca.
Natasha.
Lucy. And I have alopecia areata totalis.
Alopecia totalis.
Totalis.
And I have alopecia universalis.
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 Universalis. Universalis.
Universalis. I have alopecia areata.
Areata. Areata.
Areata.
So my alopecia experience started when I was 2 years old. It started with a small patch like that on the top of my head, which my mum noticed and took me to the doctors. I was diagnosed with baby alopecia and told it would go away. And quite frankly, it didn't. I was about 14, that's when I lost my eyebrows and my eyelashes. And I think I was around 10-year old when I decided to shave my head. I've definitely had plenty of highs with my alopecia experience. I've been able to meet so many lovely people. It's such a supportive community as well, and I've made a lot of new friends out of it. There's also been lows as well, mainly with self-confidence issues, and that mainly was triggered when I was going into a new group of people or meeting new people, just because I'd have to reintroduce the subject again. But I think it was more self-acceptance than anything. But overall, my alopecia experience has been mainly really positive. There's been very little times where I've had low points. Of course I've had low points, but it's mainly been pretty good. Better than you would expect anyway.
At the age of 64, I lost my hair. No reason, no rhyme, no explanation. No doctor has been able to tell me why and has not been able to put it right. There's very little treatment, there's very little support. However, I'm fortunate enough to have a loyal husband who has been very supportive, and a group of my family and a group of young ladies, well, of all ages, who supported me through everything.
22 years ago, I had a nervous breakdown and lost all of my hair. I have had a marvellous life and have never let it get me down.
My experience has actually been quite a positive one, unlike some people who do get picked on quite a lot, but me myself, I've never experienced anything negative. There's been the odd comment here and there, but it's kind of something you can brush off. I've had more people curious than mean. They're like, just ask questions, like I'm happy to answer, because I ask it in a respectful way. I've had an amazing support system. My friends, my family have been absolutely amazing, and they're the ones who actually have helped me through this. Also, they could have done it, to be fair, people hadn't been supportive. I have had a lot of amazing experiences with my hair alopecia. Been this morning with a lot of other people, been on the Daily Mail, and also met an amazing network of people who are going through the same thing and can support you if you need them, and that's what's amazing about it.
My alopecia was discovered when I was aged 11 and in my first year of high school, because a group of girls that were in my year approached me and asked if I had done my own haircut, because my hairline right here was just a little bit higher than everybody else's. Now of course that made me a little bit nervous, so I got my mum's advice and then a doctor's advice, who of course diagnosed me with my alopecia. My experience in the first 4 to 5 years, I would say, were relatively easy because I could hide it with a ponytail, and that definitely got me through high school. But in the more recent years, it's definitely been super hard because I started losing hair rapidly and I eventually ended up with no hair, and now I don't have eyelashes or eyebrows, but it's definitely made me a better person today. For me, my high and my low of having alopecia are the exact same moment. I just decided one night to cut off the tiny pieces of hair that I had left, and it was horrible because they were my security blanket and they were the thing that made me feel comfortable. But also my highest moment was cutting off those strands, because it was empowering and I took control of the situation. And now I feel so beautiful bald, and I definitely feel more confident bald than I did with like 4 pieces of hair.
I started to get alopecia when I was 5 years old. It was alopecia areata at that time, and it started coming bits by bits. I remember when I was 5, I had a big yellow line down the middle of my hair on my hairline. It was almost like a really thick dandruff, and that feels like how it started to kind of get irritated and things over the years. Up until I was about 12, little patches here and there. I could hide them, but there was a few. And then when I was about 13, 14, it started to get a few more patches, and it was very hard then to actually hide them all. When I was 15, it was very, very bad. There was very little hair left, and I did my best to hide it, but it looked ridiculous. I shaved the remaining bit off, and I got my first wig. First wig was terrible. It was very thick and it was awful, and I went from having no hair and thin hair to having this big thick wig. I remember wearing it to school, and I was made fun of for it. I'd been previously bullied before that in school. People called me names and pointed at my hair and say I was bald. I just felt lonely, like a complete stranger, like a weirdo, to be honest. In the last year or two, I put up a post of me bald, and I just said, you know, I can't live like this anymore. I was being blackmailed by friends and boyfriends, so I told people. I put up a post really late, went to sleep, pick up my phone the next morning feeling absolutely sick. It was too late to do anything, and it's been the best thing I've ever done. I've met amazing, incredible women online, there's men out there as well. I now promote mental health online and alopecia, so I just feel like an absolute weight has been lifted off my shoulder.
My alopecia journey started in 2012. I started with alopecia areata, and then it progressed into alopecia universalis within like 1 to 2 months. It was hard, it was really hard for a young girl to lose her hair. For me, like when I was younger, my hair was my everything. I dyed it every colour, I had it hair extension, I done it short, like that was my thing. Losing it was a massive thing for me. It really, really hit me hard. It come at the wrong time as well. I was going through a lot of stuff mentally, and when I look back now, I don't know how I got through it. I don't know how I was getting up every day. I don't know how I became so strong. I think what helped me was my friends, my family, and just realising that even though it's your hair that's gone and it feels like your whole identity's changed, like you are still you. But yeah, you took my hair, but you're not taking me, you're not taking my family, you're not taking my friends. I realised that, and I knew that's what I had. I think it got easier for me, but now I feel like a completely different person. I feel a lot more confident in myself. I can get up in the mornings and I can look in the mirror and I can think, oh my god, like that's me. Like where before I would look in the mirror and think, oh my god, like who am I? Like I don't even know who I am. I just feel so much more confident, like this is me now, and I like the way I feel and I like the way I look now.
It started when I was 16 in small patches just around my head, and it eventually spread all around the sides, the back and up towards the top as well. In 2017 I only had a really small patch on the top, so I actually braved the shave and shaved it off. When I was pregnant with my daughter, I had full regrowth, which the doctors told me would never happen. That was there for about a year, and then she's 8 months now and it's all started to fall out again when the pregnancy hormones had obviously left my body. So I decided a couple of weeks ago to brave the shave again. So as you can see, I'm now a baldy. I am losing my eyebrows and I've lost all of my arm hair too, so I would say that I actually have alopecia universalis now. But
my alopecia experience has definitely been a roller coaster of emotions. 6 years ago I developed alopecia and I was quite young, so I kept it secret from a lot of people other than close friends and family because I felt a little bit embarrassed to be different. Now I've opened up about my alopecia, I've become more proud of who I am, and I think I've gained a whole load of self-confidence that was not there before. I have met an amazing group of girls that are so supportive. I've got supportive family, such supportive friends, and I think it's definitely made me who I am today.
I first discovered my first bald patch in November 2016. From then on till now, my whole experience of alopecia has just been a massive roller coaster. I've had so many lows and I've had so many highs, and I think it's all down to just riding this massive wave of emotions and getting through it ultimately. I remember that first feeling when I was told by my dermatologist that I had alopecia areata. I think I just thought, well, why? Why do I have that? What does that mean? In 2017, it progressed really oddly. My hair all started to fall out. Then I was put on steroids, and steroids were just awful. They made me feel horrible. My hormones were everywhere. And my hair grew back, and I started feeling really happy. When it started to fall out again, I just completely deflated. I just felt, oh, this must be something to do with me. From then on, it just got worse and worse. I remember just feeling so bad in myself. And I didn't see a way out. I didn't see how I would suddenly end up feeling happy, but I did. Now, I'm happy with the way I look, I'm happy with myself, and I don't blame myself. In September 2019, I shaved my head because I had tiny hairs left that weren't worth having there, and I had just accepted then and there that this is it now. And even though I cried so much when that happened and I was shaving my head, the next hair felt amazing.
So I actually lost my hair at quite a young age, so I don't actually remember the process of losing my hair, but I remember through my teenage years how embarrassed I was. Hiding behind my wig made me feel so insecure. But as I grew older and got onto social media, I would look through people's Instagrams who also had lost their hair, and it really inspired me to come out with it and spread awareness and show that you don't actually need hair to be pretty.
I have been bald for about 7.5 years now, and overall it's been a very beautiful experience. One of the highs for me was really when I lost most of my hair and I decided to shave my head and shave the rest of it off. And I really felt like I was taking control over what was happening to me, and it really threw me into a trajectory of accepting what was happening and just kind of learning more about being who I was and who this person was, just without hair. Obviously one of the low points is every once in a while I have what I call a bad bald day. Your hair can be your identity sometimes, and you can miss it. I miss having hair.
I first got diagnosed with alopecia when I was 14 years old. It didn't first start on my head, it actually started on my eyebrows. I lost half of this eyebrow, then the whole of this eyebrow, then the rest of this eyebrow, and then eventually it did go to my scalp. I did go to the doctors. They didn't really know what alopecia was. Not that I knew it was alopecia at the time, but it had been brought up a couple of times by the doctor, but they didn't really know anything about it, so I decided to go privately. They gave me lots of steroids to try, some tingling shampoo to see if they could shock the hair follicles to coming back to life, but unfortunately nothing was working. They then advised me, because I was losing so much of my hair, it was receding from here and bald patches all round, that it would probably be better for me to shave my hair off and start wearing wigs. I did choose to do this. I went to the hair salon and I got all my hair shaved off, which was quite scary, and I've been wearing wigs ever since.
Ever since I was a little girl, I had a lot of thick hair, and it was often the first thing that people would notice. So I never imagined not having that anymore. But when I was 14, my dad discovered a very small bald patch on the back of my head, and we went to the doctors and he explained to me that I probably had alopecia. I didn't know what it was. I had to ask him 3 times, and then he had to write it down because I couldn't remember. And he had faith and I had faith that it would grow back. But the bald patch grew and grew, and just after I turned 15, I shaved all of my hair off. I had always identified with my hair, and it was a really important part of me. I obviously saw all the signs of hair loss, hair everywhere, bald spots that I couldn't height anymore. I always thought, I'm not turning bald, it's fine, it will grow back. However, as you can see, it didn't. My friends were a really big help. They would notify me whenever bald spots could be seen. They helped me get the hair off my back whenever I'd fallen out, so I'm very grateful for them. Then it was summer and I lost so much hair without realising it until I showered and I went through my hair and I could feel my scalp. I think that was the first time that I truly realised that it maybe wasn't growing back, and that was really hard. There were often times I was crying and my hair couldn't really brush it anymore. It was matted a lot and it was just really frustrating. I don't know how it happened, but all of a sudden there was a switch in my mindset. Because I got alopecia, I realised that I don't have to change who I am. I am good as I am.
I got alopecia when I was 14 years old, and by the time I was 15 I was completely bald. I wore a scarf for 8 years of my life, and during this time I struggled a lot with the idea of what people expected of me, or what society wanted from me, or what other people wanted me to look like. So I guess that I was wearing a wig for these many reasons and not for the right ones. To me, having alopecia is very hard because in some way you need to accept the fact that your body is changing and you're not able to do anything about it.
So I first developed alopecia when I was 14, so it started off with a really small little patch which grew, and then multiple patches started forming. But then about 2 years later, in 2016, it turned into alopecia totalis, and then 2 months after that I lost everything, which is alopecia universalis. I kept it a secret for about 4 years. I didn't really feel comfortable telling many people. But quite recently I went a bit more open about it on my Facebook and Instagram private, and people have been so lovely. Like, I'm still overwhelmed at how lovely everyone's been. So yeah, it definitely felt like a huge weight lifted off my shoulders once I'd taken that step.
I've had alopecia, gosh, my whole life, as long as I can remember. And if someone was to ask me to sum up my experience with alopecia, I would describe it as a roller coaster, where some days it stops and some days it doesn't. Although not physically damaging, it plays a huge part on your emotional well-being. It's weird because although I've grown up with alopecia, you know, some days still are tough. I used to have alopecia areata, so when I was 2 years old I was diagnosed with alopecia areata, and for the 10 years up until about the age of 12, my hair followed the same cycle where it would grow in all year and take all year to grow in fully on my head, and then the week of my birthday in December it would fall out, and I'd wake up the next morning and it would just be gone. It would just be lying on my pillow. I have my mum to thank for that support during those times. But kids can be nasty, and those nasty comments from those younger years will always stick with me. My hair hasn't grown back ever since then. So I was 12 and I'm now almost 30, and I've not had a full hair, not even one hair on my head since then. But you just learn to deal with it, I think. So I kept my eyebrows and eyelashes for a few years, up until 15, and then when I hit 15 and hit high school years, I lost everything. I lost all my eyebrows, my eyelashes, everything went at that point. I had the most amazing, you know, support network at that point to help me get through those years.
So I've had alopecia 18 months now, and the experience has been really worthwhile. It's been emotional, it's been daunting, it's been scary, it's been tiring, but then I've had days where I've laughed and I've cried. I've had days where I won't even look at my own reflection in the mirror, and then days when I've taken 100 selfies because I felt on top of the world. But I've learned more about myself than I ever knew that I had to learn, and I'm really grateful to it for that.
Alopecia started when I was 11 years old, so I've had it for 17 years now. It first started with just some little patches about this size, beneath my neck and above my ears, and it kind of went on like that for about 15-16 years. Then last year I got a hair integration system fitted, and unfortunately my hair just wasn't strong enough to deal with it. My hair gradually started to fall out in clumps. So last April I had to make the decision to shave off the remaining hair that I had, and since then I have lost even more hair, so I only have about a palm-sized hair kind of patch on my head. So I wear wigs and turbans full time. The journey's not been particularly easy at times, but I definitely feel like the losing and the falling out part was definitely the hardest to deal with. I feel like since I kind of shaved my hair and took a bit of control back over it, it's been a little bit better and a bit easier to deal with. Obviously the initial shock of kind of such a drastic change in your appearance is really difficult, but I did find kind of the falling out and the losing part the most kind of hard thing to deal with throughout everything.
I was only the tender age of 9, actually really fully understand what was going on and what was happening. It literally started from the moment I'd lost my best friend, my grandma. It started to be alopecia areata. Ended up being diagnosed with alopecia totalis. Not long after losing one of my lifelong heroes, that was my dad. Sorry, it literally spiraled into one big whirlwind for me. Having tried all types of different treatments, from steroid ointments to rub onto my scalp, to different tablet forms of medication. Pain that I got from having these steroid injections, I literally had to tell them to stop treatment. I couldn't literally take any more. To be honest, with alopecia, you never know what to expect. Embracing, I would say, your new long locks, to then sitting wondering, why did it all happen to you? Why were you the only girl in the year group? I am getting there day by day. I just don't have as much confidence as what other people may have having alopecia. But beauty is what's on the inside and not on the out.
So my alopecia experience has had its ups and downs. When I first lost my hair when I was 21, I hit a really low point. I didn't have any support. I had no support groups to go to. My family were 400 miles away, so I found it really hard. But now, however, it's all right. I don't really mind. It's just part of me now. I'm absolutely fine with it. It doesn't bother me at all, so I feel so much better.
My alopecia experience has been quite a roller coaster. However, I have ages on definitely come to terms with it and have accepted that this is kind of me now. When I lost my hair nearly 8 years ago now, it was a real shock to the system. I lost my hair very quickly. It was within a few weeks. I then lost my eyelashes and my brows 2 years after that. I was absolutely devastated, like any girl would be. Of course I still have my down days. Of course I really miss my hair and would do anything to get my hair back. Unfortunately, it hasn't come back. So instead of sitting and crying and being depressed every day, I try my best to remain positive and upbeat and make the most out of a bad situation. I wouldn't say my experience has been horrendous. I think I've coped pretty well actually, because that is just the type of person I am. I try and make a positive out of a negative.
My alopecia story started when I was about 12 years old, and my aunt actually came into the bathroom and she basically screamed, "Go bald!" And I was like, oh my god, that means bald. Come to find out, I had a quarter-sized bald spot in the back of my head. So they took me to the doctor and he didn't know what to do. I don't think he's ever seen it before because he didn't recommend me to go to any dermatologist for a whole year. The dermatologist tells me I have alopecia areata. So I was taking a bunch of medication for my alopecia, my asthma, and then I actually found out I was anemic for my first visit. When I was 15 years old, I decided to quit my medication and steroid injections. I just felt hopeless and I just couldn't do it anymore. This whole area was completely scarred. I felt isolated, depressed, exhausted, not keeping up with my schoolwork. I'm not trying to cry because this has been like almost 10 years ago, but I'm in the fields. But my hair fell out within 3 days after quitting my medication. You know, with alopecia, you're just so connected and you just don't want to get rid of what you have. But like one day I came home from school, I came inside and my stepdad was home and I just said, I think I want to shave my head because it hurts. I didn't cry. I was very strong until my best friend started crying, and then I started crying. Now fast forward to when I was 16 years old, and at this point I had lost my eyebrows, my eyelashes, my facial hair, because we all know girls still have mustaches. I actually started cosmetology school. I love it, it's my passion. And everyone was introducing each other, and this one girl was like, hi, my name is, and I have fake hair. And I was like thinking to myself, oh, because you have extensions. So I decided to remove my wig for the very first time in front of people. Her hair was fake, but in reality mine was super fake. Took my wig off and everyone was like, ah, and I was like, oh, okay, I don't know what to do. I was like, yeah, I have alopecia. And that's literally where my confidence journey began, I would say, because before that it was just like a whole train wreck. I actually did a presentation with 2 other boys in my school that had alopecia. Emotional. At the end of the class, he actually took off his bandana. It sparked something in me. Just seeing what awareness can do and what it can help with, like, you know, kids and anyone who has alopecia, just knowing that you're not isolated, that you're not alone. I actually was wearing a wig from my freshman year all the way until this point. I decided to compete in this pageant without a wig. I actually placed top 5. Made me connect with so many different people across the whole world. I actually was invited to the National Alopecia Areata Foundation conference. Honestly, that whole experience changed my life. Whole hotel full of alopecia people. It brought my attention to the alopecia community and how large it is and how connected we are.
I remember sitting in the hairdresser's chair at the age of 13 and her spotting a bald patch about the size of a 50p pence, and it was probably nothing to worry about, but had I spotted it before and I hadn't, I was embarrassed and confused. I kind of have blocked out the rest of that year. I mean, it was a tough year anyway, which is probably what triggered my alopecia. I also remember washing and like blow drying my hair every morning in the most kind of bouffant way that I could to try and hide the patches, which were very quickly spreading. It was like fighting a losing battle. And you're already starting by trying to hide the patches. You're making yourself feel ashamed. I mean, I stopped going to school for a bit because I was so embarrassed and it was out of my control and I wasn't dealing with things very well. But I have to remind myself I was 13 years old. And looking back now, I would hope I would deal with things really differently. I'm 15 years into my journey now. I did go back to school. I went on a school trip, went into a religious building, so I was asked to remove it. And it was on the coach ride home that I called my mum and I said to her, I think I need to get a wig now. For as long as I can remember now, I've been wearing wigs in a way. I can't really remember my bio hair. I don't go out in public without them. It might be a goal that I'm aiming for, especially seeing so many amazing women on here. Sometimes I feel like, is it me hiding? My reasoning has always been, I don't want my alopecia to define me. I don't want to be judged. I want to be able to get on with my daily life without people thinking I'm ill, just be who I want to be. But I think sometimes the way I have been in the past, so secretive about wearing a wig, in itself has caused that issue and made me feel ashamed. And so in recent years, when I've felt more confident just to bring it up in conversation when I feel comfortable, it's never been as bad as I thought. I know it sounds a bit cliche, but it is a journey. I still have good days and I have really bad days. And I've recently lost my eyebrows and eyelashes again. Meeting all these amazing women on Instagram, I want to start experimenting with wigs a bit more. I think it's great that everyone has a different experience and that we can all learn from each other.